Dinosaur Man.
Hello and welcome to the Dinosaur Man podcast. I'm here and I'm Andy Hughes. and I am with... We're not...
And I am here also, and I am not Andy Hughes.
This Polar Express is chugging.
Choo-choo. Next stop, Uncanny Valley.
It's crazy because literally, if ever I change a single word of that introduction...
Well, you could just say news and reviews for this.
It throws me through the loop so bad.
Do you want to do news and reviews for this?
Well, no, we're in it now. We're in it. I'm in the zone.
I'm going to call this news and reviews.
I'm in the snow globe.
I can't just call it Dinosaur Man Reviews. That's weird.
Well, that's kind of what it is today, guys.
Okay, news and reviews instead. News is Boris Johnson's cancelled Christmas? What?
That was news last time we recorded, if you remember.
Okay. Well, this week... Well, because this is Friday, we're going to release this on Friday, executive decision.
Yeah.
It's Christmas.
It's Krampus, guys.
Okay, so
Merry
I
Krampus.
imagine they've put us on early morning, 6 a.m.
And it's Friday, actual Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Well, today's the 23rd,
So-
and today is a Wednesday.
You sat down with your family, guys.
I mean, today... Oh, hang on. This is Christmas morning right now. You gotta keep the pretense going.
Is that with your parents? The boiled goose is coming out of the...
No. No one's boiling gooses anymore.
Is that
Sorry, geeses.
Is that
no
the smell
geeses
of
for
bo-
us Mises.
Is that the smell of boiled goose throughout the house?
That boiled geese water.
What would go well with this geese food we have?
Yeah.
It would be a nice little podcast from your two favourite boys.
Recorded live right now on Christmas morning in the podcast house that we share with Joe Rogan and Mark Maron.
It's crazy
and
here, guys.
The Brexit cast people.
The cast of the people who put Brexit in place.
Oh, and also the cast of Glee. They're also here.
Ryan Murphy visits a lot.
Well, we'll be mentioning him.
It would be nice if he did, just check in on us once in a while. But no, guys, welcome to
Christmas.
To our gingerbread house.
Welcome
podcast.
to Christmas. Welcome to the gingerbread. Okay, can I just say something now?
Of course you can.
It's been a difficult,
I feel you're going to.
difficult year.
Yes.
And I think the one thing that we're probably all most disappointed for is the fact that nothing's really been as normal as it normally would have been, and that's a shame.
Okay, in these unprecedented times, as people have been saying.
Now more than ever, in these unprecedented times, now that these times are unprecedented, one thing we need to remember is we only watched half of the Welcome to the Blumhouse collection.
Okay, guys.
And we were supposed to watch all of that for Halloween.
So, remember the false promises that we've made throughout this year? Because we've made many.
I never remember any We've never made a false promise.
One said Andy will watch all of the Ghibli films, but then remember...
I've not given up hope on you reinvigorating that series.
Remember, guys, Ghibli will come back, but My Neighbor Yamada's was so bad, it made me not want to see another animation in my life.
I actually think that what happened was...
Pompoko was also very bad.
COVID stopped it.
Yeah, I couldn't go to Netflix anymore because of COVID.
Yeah, they shut down Netflix because of COVID.
I also promised that we'd watch all the Blumhouses, or Blumhouse.
We watched two.
We watched two, and apparently there were two, and we watched those.
Yeah, why do we give up after the first two?
Because
it gets better, we've been told.
They took a lot out of us. I promised I'd watch every single Netflix Christmas offering. I did some of that. I think I did enough.
What didn't you watch yet? California Christmas.
Didn't watch California Christmas Vacation.
California
I didn't
Christmas.
watch. I don't know, some other Christmas ones I saw appear on there. I didn't watch all of them, but I watched enough, guys.
In an alternate reality, I am Rihanna. Was that her? California King Bed?
I think so. Mm-hmm. I get it mixed up with
California Raisins.
No, there was a Fergie song, wasn't there?
Fergalicious.
Yes, I get it
In this Fergalicious King Bed. Yeah. Oh no, Sinbad. Fergalicious Sinbad. That's what she's singing about. You know,
What's Sinbad? Not the comedian from
yeah, from the 90s. Yeah, from
Turbo Man.
Happy Christmas Time.
What is that film called?
Jingle All the Way.
I need to get a Turbo
It's
Man.
one of your favourite films of all time, and you can't remember it.
He's got two.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. We've got a lot of
down.
we've got a lot of
Sinbad, give me back my toy.
We got a lot of reviews to do today, but before we do that, we're doing our New Year's resolutions, or as we call them on this, the New Year's Podolutions. No, terrible. Andy, what is your resolution for next year? Will you finally watch the other two?
Maybe.
Welcome to the
I will
Blumhouses.
watch.
Considering we've also got another 4 coming next year.
Oh no. I will watch maybe one other Ghibli next year.
Okay.
You as the audience can decide which one will get me back on the horse.
Vote now. I'm going to say that I give 50-point head start to My Neighbours the Yamadas again. Because he can be a repeat. So that or Pompoko, don't let him watch the chauvinistic pig.
Maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need to watch Porco Rosso again to get me back onto the horse of being like, this is good Ghibli. This is what they can do.
I think the term is back onto the pig.
Back on the plane?
Okay.
Or I promise my new resolution is to stop making false promises to our listeners.
That's probably good. I'm not going to do a resolution because I feel like that would be a false promise to our listeners, and I know that goes against what you want to do.
Wow. So you threw me under the bus there and made me do a resolution.
Very much so.
No plans to do one
and
yourself.
now you got to watch My Neighbours the Yamadas.
No. But yeah, guys, we did a lot of news the other day. I don't know if you noticed like that.
Too long.
Absolute truckload.
I'm going
of
to say it
news.
now, too long. If it's longer than Wonder Woman 1884 or whatever, then yeah, too long.
You know, maybe a little bit long. But we got a lot of news in there, which means we're not doing any news today.
Apart from Boris Johnson cancelled Christmas.
Apart from Boris Johnson cancelled Christmas, because, you know, we all know he did that.
Is he a member of cancel culture?
I heard he went to children's houses and he kicked the presents out of their hands. You went...
Yeah.
I was going to do a Boris impression and then decided...
No, I want to hear it. I want to see your audition for Spitting Image.
Take that, you children!
She's really good.
I heard that he's been snapping candy canes in the faces of orphans.
And what would that sound like?
Clack.
Okay, so you can do an impression of A, Boris Johnson, and B, a candy cane. Okay, and what would he say when he's snapping these candy canes?
No candy canes for you, destroying children.
Okay, good.
I heard.
I'm really upset because this does mean that Andy is going to be stolen by Spitting Image, so I'm going to need a new podcast co-host, otherwise this is going to end.
I also heard
that
he's been breaking into the houses, and as the children are tucking themselves into bed, he walks into their room with the glass of milk that they've left out and pours it on the floor.
Okay, and what would that sound like?
Glug, 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 glug.
Glug?
The floor drinks it.
Okay, yeah, I forgot that the orphanages often have mouths for floors.
Nom, nom, nom. Don't step on my face, children, or I'll eat you.
Is that the...
That's Boris Johnson and the floor.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounded like Boris Johnson. Okay. Cool. That's good. I'm glad that we've had this discussion.
CBBS have signed me up to do a bedtime story about Boris Johnson, the Christmas killer.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Okay, so we got something... It's stupid.
So
this podcast is stupid.
So we'll get to reviews. Shall we first?
Yes.
Talk gaming reviews.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, I have not got anything for gaming news.
I get to pause,
and I cannot Google that quickly.
I get to pause because I wanted to see the fear in your eyes.
Yeah, okay. So gaming reviews.
Because I didn't talk about this last time.
No, you didn't, because it doesn't fall under the remit of news.
The things with reviews.
Yes.
I will talk about games that I have played.
Yes. You played loads.
I finished my horny game.
Okay, you tell me about that.
I don't know if I talked about that, but basically really enjoyed
it. Is it A, more horny, or B, less horny?
I think less horny, but there is a point. There are horny points in it. I didn't do a lot of the side quests towards the end. So at the start, I did them all.
Yeah.
And then at one point I went, I just really want to just do the story of this. And I want to just kind of have that done because, you know me, once I've done a story, that's pretty much that game done for me. So I didn't do a load of side missions. And that's normally when it gets horniest.
Yes.
Highlight of the game is when Kiryu just slaps a child for no reason.
Weird that's your takeaway from this game is that that's the best thing in it.
Well, it's because it's hilariously placed because I think the child is saying to him, oh, that's why. The kid wants to know what's happened to her mother. And Kiryu knows...
I actually was in the room for this bit, I think.
But the mother is, at that point, dead. And the child's there going, tell me, you know something, you know something. And he just hits her.
Yeah.
Because apparently that's how you deal with that situation. But
he's not a great dad, we know that.
This is immediately followed by another dad hitting his child. And I'm like, okay, apparently that's what's going on now.
Yeah.
Worst part of the game is that bit near the end where you saw me where I had to try and fight a boss, and all I wanted to do was shoot him with a rocket launcher, and there was two guys who just kept shooting me.
Yeah, that was a big
and they just wouldn't die. And then when I killed them, they came back.
Okay, and if you have to get a rating on our famous video game rating scale,
I will give it...
how many pairs of Japanese schoolgirls' pants you bought from a vending machine out of 10?
16 out of 5 ramen bowls.
Okay, cool. So that's a would buy.
Who knows?
I think that is a would buy.
I think.
Hang on. Let me just do the calculation. Converting. Enhance. Would not buy.
Oh no!
Would not buy. Sorry, guys. No. Sorry, would not buy it.
Second game I played.
Yes.
Celeste.
Also on Game Pass.
On Game Pass. Both my games come from Game Pass, guys. I'll be honest.
Yeah, we know that you are, if nothing else, someone who rinses the subscription.
Game Pass is literally, I genuinely believe, one of the greatest things in gaming right now. I honestly believe that because...
I'd say don't limit it to gaming. I'd say in the world.
Well,
what's it got to contend with? COVID?
It's so nice.
I'd take Game Pass over COVID, please.
It's so nice just to have something that, like, if I want to play something, I can go on there and there's a library of games that I just have access to. And it's a subscription, and they have good... And, you know, it's not always the best games, you know. It's talked like Sony's had these amazing games that are exclusives, but It's nice to be able to load up the Xbox and just have all these games. And, you know, there are some huge games on there right now. And be able to just play them.
Minutes.
It might not be on there anymore.
Oh, okay.
Game of the Year Minute.
So, Celeste is the sequel to Daphne. And what's going on?
So, Celeste is basically, it's a indie platformer about a girl called Madeline who, basically, she wants to climb... The story is basically she wants to climb a mountain, and she's going all out to climb this mountain, and you do platforming sections, and as the story unfolds you realise that basically there's probably more going on in Madeline's life, and there are things that she's trying to escape, and this is her way of doing that. And the story is really nice, like, in terms of, like, it's really well woven. It's really interesting. It's really engaging, and that's the kind of stuff that I really wanted to do. And the platforming is really hard. So I heard this game talked about a lot by different people, and everyone's always like, "Oh, it's this great little platforming game." Nobody told me how hard it is, and I really started to struggle by like the 4th, 5th chapter.
Yeah.
Like, just really found it difficult, but I was getting a lot of enjoyment out of doing it. The problem was. So one of the great things about this game is it has this amazing accessibility function.
Yes.
Which means that if the game is too hard for you, you can then change it up so that you can kind of get past the section. Or you can even skip entire chapters if you want to. And, you know, it gives you, like, invulnerability, or it gives you, like, multiple jumps because you've got, like, a jump mechanic that lets you double jump. And it's so smooth. It's so well orchestrated, like... It is like inch perfect, and when you do something, you feel really good. The problem is, because I had this accessibility thing, and I wanted to know the story, but at that point, I was really not in the right headspace to be playing the game. Like, I didn't really I wasn't there for platforming. I kind of just used the accessibility functions to kind of speedrun to the end.
Yeah.
And one day I might go back and play it again, but I don't know. Like, I just wanted to know what happened.
Okay, and so
I kind of just hacked my way to the finish.
Would you say that the accessibility functions were were they necessary for you?
Yes, because there was definitely a point that I couldn't get past. Like, there was a point I just could not do.
And do you think that there is a potential that would be the same for most casual gamers?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will. If you're good at this kind of game, you will blitz it. But I think there is a definite. Like you said at one point to me when I was playing it, is this game getting too hard for you?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, it is. And like, there was a bit near the end where I was just kind of skipping through levels, like just boosting my way through to the end finish line. And I felt bad about it because I was like, I'm getting no enjoyment here. I'm literally just hacking my, like, because I was getting really good enjoyment when I was doing something and I managed to finally achieve it.
Yes.
But then when I was just hacking my way through, I was like, okay, I feel bad doing this. But I also kind of want to know where the story ends because I really love the story. and this is what I'm saying. Like one day I might go back and try it again and kind of win my way through.
Yeah.
And I think having those accessibility features is great, but also it was like a get out of jail free card for me.
Right.
And I'm glad that it exists because I think all games should have a feature that allows you to adjust the difficulty because not everyone is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you should have that ability to kind of change it. But yeah, I definitely utilize this like to a probably negative fashion. But don't take away from the fact this game is amazing. Like it's really great, but it is hard.
Rating for that one?
5 double jumps out of 1 journey of self-discovery.
Okay, calculating. Enhance. Converting. Would recommend.
I've also played another couple of games, but I'll hold off on those because I've literally played.
It's because we don't have enough time to calculate and convert.
But also because
I can drop that bit. I mean, I can tell the computer to stop doing that bit.
Well, I played 1 round of Monster Train, which I'm really enjoying, and I'll play more of and let you know. And the Tetris Effect one it's Tetris, but it looks pretty.
Okay.
But also I realised that at times, as you saw yesterday, I panic and I'm really bad at Tetris.
Very strange decision making sometimes from you.
Like I get so bad. Like okay,
especially if you're sometimes you hover over the exact right thing and then you'll sort of second guess yourself. I don't even know if you guessed that's the way to do it.
No, basically, so Tetris Effect is a game which is Tetris, but it has like all these kind of like sensory stuff, and if you play it with headphones, like it's really good kind of surround sound and stuff. And what happens is, as it goes on, it gets faster and faster. It's Tetris. And what I've realised, like, I've played it for like 4 hours or so. I'm really bad at, like, I'm really good, and when things are going wrong, I'm really good. But as soon as something goes wrong, I start panicking, and I press the wrong buttons, and I just start putting pieces down. As soon as a piece goes down, I'm like, well, that's it, it's gone. And as you saw yesterday, I get very flustered very fast. And Tetris maybe isn't the game for me, guys.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I had to deal with a hostage negotiation, I would not put you on the other end of that line.
I don't know if it's just a case of, like, because you weren't playing it, it was easier for you to see. But, like, I could see you nodding and pointing at the corner of my eye, and I just couldn't figure out how to get to that point of acceptance from you. And if anything, Tetris broke me. And I'll probably go back to it. But I realise I've done like 6 levels out of 100 or whatever, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to survive.
Okay. Well, if you like Tetris, you'll like that then, yeah? Okay. So we'll pick up on Monster Train next week.
Yeah, like I said, I played 1 round, I really enjoyed it, but I think I need to probably play more of it.
Or next time, rather. I don't quite know when we're next going to release news and reviews, but we'll see. Sorry, guys. This is we've thought ahead to the point where we realised that we have to release this now. Well, not now, but we have to pre-record it. But we also have not thought ahead to what are we going to fill the rest of the year with.
We've got a lot of January episodes coming, which is normal January.
Okay.
But let's talk reviews.
Yeah? Let's smash a few. Well, first of all, let's do one that you are desperately looking forward to. Mandalorian. This is the Mandalorian review.
Yes.
So previously you reviewed most of the episodes, I think.
Yeah, I think we're like 2 or 3 behind.
Yeah. So I guess the best thing to do is just review the whole series, I guess, at this point.
So, yeah.
So
loved it.
No spoilers, please.
Oh, yeah, I'll avoid spoilers because there are
some... I don't care. I've seen all the memes.
There are some huge spoilers, especially like the final episode as well.
Yeah.
There are some really big ones there of kind of what happens and kind of what intersects with that storyline. But yeah, I've absolutely loved this, and I loved it mostly when it wasn't being linked in with any sort of like previous stuff.
Yeah.
But it's because a lot of the time Mandalorian feels like a separate entity to everything else, and especially for me as the worst Star Wars viewer, having people come into it like Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, who have been in these animated series and I know nothing about, having these people appear and me just seeing them as, oh, these are new characters, that's great for me because I'm like, I don't have any kind of reference point. And yes, it means I'm lost at times and I don't really know what's going on, but it looks pretty and I like that.
Sure. Very superficial argument.
No, I am. Like, And
they say beauty is only skin deep. Apparently, so is Mandalorian.
But I think Pedro Pascal does a really good job this season. He has definitely moments of allowing us to feel the Mandalorian a bit more.
Yeah.
And kind of understand who he is. He talks a lot more this series as well. And I think that's just kind of a byproduct of him basically taking on this fatherhood role. I think he's great, and I think all the surrounding cast are great. I think there are definitely some episodes that are stellar, so good. There's a moment in the last episode as well, which is brilliant. Just from an audio-visual point of view, is just really good. And it's that thing that I think Star Wars can do at times, where it has just a sound that is amazing.
It's the THX difference, boys.
I don't know what it is, but it's
like that.
No,
is it flubber? Is what I said. Oh my god!
It's a grinding kind of mechanical sound.
I can't believe Watto came back.
And with his mechanical legs.
Yeah, that was Watto's famous mechanical nose.
But it's just a really good sound, and it does that a lot. I think the ending leaves it in a place where I don't know where they go next, though.
Okay.
I felt there was a drive.
There is a third series already confirmed.
Yes. And I felt there was a drive into the second series of this continuing.
Okay.
And I'm actually confused what happens now, because it kind of wraps up, which is interesting.
But you can't kill this cash cow.
No. That's the thing, it's making them so much money. It's bringing people onto that platform. And when people were like, oh, what does Disney Plus have to offer? It had this, and this has kept its subscribers. And I think, if you like Star Wars, I think you should really like this. And I know you're obviously the exception that proves the rule.
I'm going to have to watch this second series over Christmas.
But yeah,
see if I like this one better than the first.
I think there's a lot to really like. Even from the first... this series seems a bit more kind of epic in places as well. It seems to be a bit bigger. And I don't know if that just comes with, being more confident with it or not. And yeah, I just think it's a lot of fun. There are a couple of missteps and stuff that I wish had happened. There's some dodgy CGI in the final episode that I think is noticeably dodgy and really did take me out of the episode.
Yes.
But the rest of the episode was really good, so it kind of balances out. And I think that happens every so often when they kind of go, okay, sometimes we go practical, sometimes we're going to go CGI, and does it always mold together? Sometimes seamlessly, other times it's very noticeable.
Sure.
I think some episodes are a bit more of a drag, or because they're I appreciate them being differing lengths and only being as long as that episode needs to be. But sometimes there is a couple of episodes where I feel like they go, okay, we need X thing to happen in this episode, and rather than have that as a long part of a longer episode, we're going to have just a 30-minute episode that is this thing. And is there enough to kind of stretch that out?
Yeah.
Maybe not. But overall, I've really, really enjoyed it. And like I said, it's been nice being involved in something Star Wars at the time of its release and being excited for it, because I don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah, I mean, from what you're saying there, the criticisms that you have of that are not criticisms that you wouldn't then also have of basically every other series that's ever existed. I don't think there's a series of television in existence that has got perfect episodes throughout. There are always ones that are drags. There are always
even
ones
Breaking Bad had lulls. And I think that's
absolutely.
I think that's one of the greatest TV series ever made.
And I think if that's sort of your big takeaway from a negative standpoint is it kind of, it comes and goes in terms of the excitement and stuff.
That's TV.
What else do you expect from any other, serialized thing?
Where they've talked about this, and I talk about it with the Marvel stuff as well, which is this is like a film split into multiple parts.
Yeah.
And it genuinely feels like that. I think one of my favourite episodes is actually probably just one that is from a performance point of view, which is Bill Burr, I think it is, the comedian. He appears again. He was in the first series, he's in this series as well.
In the first series, right? Yeah.
He appears again in this, and his performance is phenomenal. It's so good from somebody you don't expect. And I saw somebody put that the reason it's so good is because he is something grounding in quite a high space fantasy series.
Yeah,
and I think that's quite beautiful that they can do moments like that in this series. But yeah, really, really enjoy it. I think if you like Star Wars and you've missed out on this, jump on board. Like, you'll really like it.
Okay.
And if you just really want something fun, like, I think my dad would enjoy this. But I'm not going to get him to get Disney Plus to get it.
Okay. Right, let's move on. Let's reviews.
You talk about some stuff. You've got stuff that I haven't seen.
So yeah, I'll do a few quick ones. Not technically... In fact, I've got one that sort of falls under I Don't Want Your Future, but we'll sort of just group everything as a... I Don't Want Your Future. Well, yeah, exactly. But I think what we'll do is we'll just do a few different bits here. So first things first, let's do this, yes. So Anything for Jackson, which is a horror movie which is on Shudder currently. It's directed by Justin G. Dick and written by Keith Cooper. It's an interesting story. So it's a... Well, it isn't. It isn't.
Wow. So from hot to cold in an instant.
So it's a bereaved couple who are attempting to bring back the spirit of their grandson who's passed away in an accident. And to do so, they perform essentially what is basically like a reverse exorcism on a pregnant woman to try and... So they use the unborn child as the host body for this spirit to enter.
Nice.
However, things don't go quite as planned, and it seems that they haven't just opened up the host to just Jackson, the grandson, but actually to a whole host of entities and ghosts. And then they start being visited by these apparitions, I suppose. It's kind of fine, and it's kind of okay. It doesn't necessarily do a huge amount that you haven't seen before. It's a relatively small film in terms of it's all pretty much filmed in this one house. There's not a huge amount of variations of location, but that's quite nice in that it kind of feels a little bit claustrophobic within this own... they've built this essentially they've built this prison room for this woman, and then their house then becomes this kind of prison to their own sort of things. It does the job that it needs to do. I don't know if it does it better than you would expect it to, but it's another one of these ones that I don't think, if I didn't have Shudder, I would never have seen, and if we hadn't had the year that we've had,
you wouldn't have Shudder.
I wouldn't have bothered going to watch it. I wouldn't have had Shudder in the first place, probably, but also I wouldn't have bothered catching it, even if it had a cinematic release, probably. But it's fine. I just kind of wish, I don't know, it kind of feels like it runs out of ideas. I mean, you get to the sort of the satanic ritual relatively early on. Yeah. And you're kind of like, I don't really know where you're going to go from here. And then it goes somewhere and you go, oh, okay, I don't know if this is enough to sustain. And I kind of feel like it runs out of legs maybe in the last third of the movie. Or there's definitely a sort of a lull in it. And maybe the last third's the bit where it recovers. But there's a middle bit where you kind of go, okay, whatever. It's fine. It's a that'll do pig. I mean, this is the thing is that with these sort of small budget things like this and like The Wretched and the Mortuary Collection and things like that, you kind of feel like, well, you're working on a shoestring budget, so I am always loath to criticize you too much for things that I don't think you can necessarily do. And I think, it's fine. It gets the job done, and it's... it's suitably... There's a couple of kind of gruesome-y things that happen in it. If you like that kind of monstery, ghosty stuff, there's something for you in this. So, yeah. I mean, so would... no, it's a that'll do pig. What else have I got? So, Yes, God, Yes, which is probably the earliest thing that I've got here to review, which came out, I think, in July this year, July-August time. Had hit the festival circuit last year, and is the feature-length version of a short film made in 20... I'm going to say 16 or something like that, by the same director, Karen Main, who's written and directed this, and stars Natalia Dyer, who is famous for Stranger Things, as Nancy, I think is the name in that.
Sounds about right.
The older sister?
Yeah, I'm willing to say yes.
Anyhow, so it basically follows a sort of it's a period piece, but it's that thing of that Lady Bird did so well of being a period piece set in sort of early 2000s, which obviously makes you nostalgic for Snake and things like that. It's a young
we ever needed.
A young Catholic teenager who basically is going through her sexual awakening whilst also at this Catholic school and surrounded by sort of pro-abstinence paraphernalia and teachings. And it's kind of it's kind of an interesting film in that there isn't a huge amount to it. It doesn't feel like it's a substantial film in terms of what's going on there. But the central performance by Natalia Dyer, I think, is kind of this weird sort of brand of oddly charming through its sort of meekness, and it is a believable performance.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a world that I know anything about, but at the same time, it kind of feels like...
Is that because you're yet to have your sexual awakening?
Well, it's because I'm a Catholic school boy rather than a Catholic school girl. I very much had my sexual awakening, and then I...
Catholic school.
Well, I then put it back to sleep again. It's in a coma right now. So, yeah, it's kind of this girl who's trying to fight against these urges she's having and these thoughts she's having, and... it doesn't ever... So what it does a pretty good job of is displaying the fact that it's more of a systemic issue than it is a personal issue, in terms of the fact that this organisation preaches, abstinence, and if you do this, that, or the other, then that is a sin and you must repent for it. And actually it just shows that wherever you are on the totem pole, the urges are still the same. The stuff that you're going through is still the same. It's just you have to... So it shows authority figures succumbing to their urges, and it's kind of interesting in the sense that it doesn't ever really take aim at the Catholic Church and say, there are big issues here. It more just sort of says, well, here's something that a lot of people have to go through, particularly within this sort of... I think it's an Iowa-based movie, so I think, that sort of heartland of religiosity, if you will. There's a lot of stuff that you have to go through when you're going through that kind of thing as a teenager, but it never necessarily says we should look at this as being the source.
Do you think it works better as a kind of large kind of painted brush, or do you think if they had kind of done a finer detailing of actually having a point, not that it doesn't have a point, but like if they drilled down to a certain kind of, this is our viewpoint on this, do you think that works better, or is it better as a kind of...
I think I actually prefer it the way it is, potentially, in that it kind of it wraps up kind of well at the end, in the terms of there is a sort of conclusion to the way that this character then sees herself and sees the way she sees her urges and what they're actually for.
Yeah.
And actually, that's nice. I think that's good because it kind of gives you some kind of closure on that. And actually, I think if you were trying to get into the nitty-gritty of it and try and find a sort of villain within the piece, it wouldn't work so well. And it kind of works in a way that it's not my favourite film of the year, but it's better than I expected it to be. Yeah. I didn't really go into this expecting anything. And yet it comes out as being something that's oddly charming in a very sort of lo-fi way. So yeah, I think I actually would recommend this one, just because it's kind of interesting. It's on Netflix currently. It's available to rent and buy elsewhere as well. I think it's on... I've certainly seen it on Amazon to rent, but it's available to stream now on Netflix for free anyway if you've got Netflix. So that's where to pick that one up. One more, and then we'll jump into your I Don't Want Your Future.
Okay.
So Jungleland, which is a sort of one of those movies that comes around 1 or 2 times a year, boxing drama with heart.
Okay.
So this is directed by Max Winkler and written by Theodore Bressman, David Branson Smith, and Max Winkler. So, starring Charlie Hunnam and Jack O'Connell. Both great. Well, Charlie Hunnam sometimes. Yeah, in fact, more times than not, I've not liked him. He was quite good in The Gentleman, I think. I thought he was okay.
I've still not seen The Gentleman. I'm going to watch that before the end of the year.
I mean, I don't think you need to bother. Like, it's not going to be in contention for best or worst, I don't think. But it's
maybe it is, guys.
You know, good enough fun, I think. Yeah, and so it's one of these films where it's, you know, these two brothers who are on the run from mistakes of the past, and so Jack O'Connell plays Lion Kaminsky, who is a bare-knuckle boxer, and Charlie Hunnam plays his brother, who essentially acts as his manager / booking agent / driver / chauffeur / masseuse, you know, everything. Coddles him because he's the only ticket he has to anything else other than the life they live. And we start off by seeing them living in squalor, and then they have to go on the run due to situations.
Reasons.
Yeah, and they're driving across country in order to go and compete in this bare-knuckle boxing tournament, the aforementioned Jungleland. Now, obviously, Jungleland evokes not only that, but the Springsteen song of the same name, which is clearly evoked through the idea of being able to escape from this life and aim for something better. And the problem is the film never quite feels like it nails that.
Yeah.
It's a strange movie because I think Jack O'Connell's performance is very good. I actually think Jessica Barden, who plays Skye, who sort of accompanies them for their journey across the country, is also very good. It's just, it is a film that is less than the sum of its parts, but that's because the sum of its parts is entirely reliant on a couple of performances.
Yeah, Jack O'Connell's a weird one. Because I think he keeps doing really great performances, but I just don't think he's exploded yet. Like,
I spoke to my brother about this, actually, and we were talking about the fact that I don't think I've ever seen him put in a bad performance necessarily. And I remember seeing him back in, 2014, was it? In 71? I think 71 is one of the best films of the last 10 years. And yet, he's never really...
It seems like everything's there prepped for him to get this amazing kind of exposure, and then just... Like, even in things like... Jack O'Connell, who's in Money Monster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great performance.
It's a really good performance. And still, like... Nothing's happened from that, and it's really strange because, like you said, he just consistently seems to be performing.
Yeah, and I just wonder if he's getting the wrong material or whatever. Like, this film feels so formulaic and feels so sort of staged and sort of safe in terms of the areas it explores. It doesn't do anything like. At times, it kind of feels like it's trying to do some of the stuff that Uncut Gems did. At times, it feels like it's trying to do some of the stuff that something like, what was that really good boxing film? Jawbone, a couple of years ago. Okay. Which I think I reviewed on the pod.
Is that the Gyllenhaal one?
You're thinking of Journeyman.
This is
the problem. Journeyman is the Paddy Considine one. Jawbone is the...
Southpaw is the Gyllenhaal one.
Johnny Harris, is in it? But either way, this is the problem, is that it never really feels like it's nailing what it's trying to do. And it ends up just kind of treading water and being just something that sort of, it's not a long film. It's about 85 minutes, I think, something like that. But it never really feels like it gets off the ground.
Yeah.
And it's got a much better performance at the heart of it than it deserves. And that's my issue, is that I feel like it's something where you just go, well, I've seen all this before, and I've seen it done so much better, and that performance needs a better film around it. But it's the same thing that keeps on happening. I think the best film that Jack O'Connell has ever made is still 71, and that was 7 years ago at this point. What's he got to do to get the right material around him, So, yeah, it's a would not recommend from me, but, it's a shame because the performance is there.
And I suppose maybe he's going to have something like a George Mackay situation where he did a lot, and I remember you saying you really like George Mackay and pretty much everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
And then 1971 seems to be his stage.
1917.
Yes, not
different.
Yeah,
very
sorry.
different movie. 1971, the birth of disco.
Yeah,
but
be a stage for him, and maybe that will help George Mackay going forward, and potentially, Jack O'Connor will get one of those sort of roles.
But then again, where's the nomination for him for 1917?
Should have been there.
Exactly, and this is the problem, that even in yet another brilliant performance in a film that was critically acclaimed and got nominations, he didn't, and you go, surely there's something amiss
Surely this
here.
is your moment.
This has got to be the film has finally. But the difference is George Mackay, the other material that he's done previously, has also been really, really good.
Yeah, was he Captain Fantastic?
So he was in Captain Fantastic, he was in Pride, he was in True History of the Kelly Gang earlier this year, which I know your brother loved. I know your brother hated that movie.
Did he?
Yes, I remember.
Did you have a conversation with my brother about this?
I had a conversation with you to your brother. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to talk about Tenet briefly, because you've caught up on that now?
I won't talk about it for long. So Tenet is obviously the latest release by Christopher Nolan. Came out earlier this year in cinemas. I didn't catch it then. I managed to catch it now. It's on home release. Basically, timey-wimey, heisty adventure stuff. Adventure action. That's probably the way to describe it. So I won't go too much into the kind of the plot or anything, because I think you've discussed this before. Anyway, and it's one of those hills that kind of
the whole world knows now, probably,
and you pick it apart as you go along. I feel the core concept is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I like the idea that time is this thing that can be controlled and can be adapted, and the idea that just because you've not witnessed something doesn't mean it hasn't happened, because you're kind of reversing time, and its concept is confusing at times, because and I think when you think about it and start kind of picking it apart, it kind of shakes under that pressure. But if you kind of ignore that and kind of let it be a movie, it does very well at being that. I think it has 2 or 3 set pieces that are really cool.
Yeah.
And really kind of amazing. And it's the kind of stuff that Nolan does really well. There's some close kind of combat fight scenes as well, which invoked kind of those kind of scenes in Batman. And I really liked, and I really like kind of the ways this is put together. But I do think that at times this film is more concept over content. I think at times I'm there I don't really know what's going on anymore, but I think that's massively down to huge sound issues. And I understand that Nolan has tried to defend this, but there are issues with your dialogue and your extraneous sound.
Extraneous sound.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge issue that has been. I mean, I talked about it when I reviewed it, and it was a problem for everyone. So it wasn't just a in theater experience, one particular experience. And then clearly, even on the home release, this is still the issue. I had my finger
on the volume button, and I was going up and down on it. But
then, for dialogue, and then for everything else.
And then I was worried about going up too loud, because I was like, oh, what if something just kicks off and then it goes... And all of a sudden, there's the sound of a jet engine at volume 40 or something.
Yeah, and it is that kind of film where that is going to happen.
But I do really like Patterson. I like John David Washington, is it?
Yeah, John David Washington.
Is really good. I think Debicki, Elizabeth Debicki, is also really good. I feel Kenneth Branagh's weird.
Yeah.
At times he is menacing, and I think that's what they were going for. And there are moments when he's menacing, and there's times when he is a comedy caricature.
Yeah.
His opening lines to John David Washington made me laugh so hard, because it's meant to be a threat, but it seems like a caricature of what you think a Russian mobster should be like, which is weird, because I don't normally get that kind of stuff from Nolan. And basically, overall, I think at times it looks great. I think I will rewatch it again, probably within the next year or so.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I think it's one of those that deserves at least a couple of viewings. but I think I will leave it a little bit before watching it again. And there's stuff I really like in there, and there is stuff that I think is really good. But I do think that it's probably one of the weaker Nolan films for me. I think it's a little bit fleshy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as tight as I would expect.
Yeah. I think I said it at the time that I think if you isolate those couple of very interesting and very well put together set pieces, which are basically the bare minimum you would expect from those set pieces, if you don't get that from a Nolan set piece, then he's clearly not working hard enough. But it is his worst film since Insomnia. By some distance, I think. And that's the disappointment for me, is that I just went to it and I went, I don't know. I will happily never watch that film again, because I don't think there is a huge amount there for me to necessarily get into. And maybe it is the kind of film where people are saying, oh, well, if you've seen it 7 or 8 times, you really understand everything about it. But the problem is, it's not a film that has the strength of any of his previous efforts, barring Insomnia. But it kind of feels like you are doing a imitation of a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it well enough. And also, you are Christopher Nolan. You are allowed to be you.
The thing is, it's quite paint by numbers in a way, because any kind of twist and stuff that was in there, I felt was very telegraphed.
Yeah.
But then it's confusing at the same time, because they added this layer of what Tenet actually is.
Yeah.
That sometimes makes sense and sometimes doesn't. And that's the thing, like, I'm there like, oh, if I watch it a couple more times, will it all kind of click into place? And I'll be like, okay, I get this now.
Yeah.
And maybe that's it. But it is one that I think I will watch again. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think it's fine with a couple of great moments. It also does have my favourite game of, oh, that's Aaron Taylor-Johnson in it.
I'm sure we'll get that again next year. I'm sure there'll be a couple of projects.
He will continue to be in films, and he will continue to be not recognised until, like, the last moments.
So, moving on then from that, Mank is one of Netflix's big Oscar hopefuls this year, alongside Chicago 7, which I've just decided to abbreviate to just Chicago 7 now. I hope that's okay with Aaron Sorkin. I'm sure he'll let me know if it isn't. So, directed by David Fincher and written by his late father, Jack Fincher. It was a passion project of his that he's been wanting to get made now for about 20 years. This was a movie he was supposed to do, I think, after the game, or potentially instead of the game. And the studios refused to do it because they thought it wouldn't work. And guess what? They were kind of right, guys. No, so it is it's an examination of the writing process of Citizen Kane. So the story focuses on Herman J. Mankiewicz, who was one of the writers of Citizen Kane, and his battle to basically assert his dominance over the screenplay and to be credited with it, and his sort of battles with Orson Welles at the time, alongside a battle with alcoholism and battle with just generally being a cantankerous old fuck. So Mank is played by Gary Oldman this is the thing, is that kind of Gary Oldman performance that is so showy and so sort of big, and it feels very... Okay, so similar to Churchill, which he obviously won the Oscar for Darkest Hour. It kind of feels similar to that in the sense that it's very sort of blustery, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of big moments within it where he's shouting at people and critiquing the fact that society doesn't work, or the industry doesn't work the way it should, and you just kind of go, oh, okay, I get what you're doing here, and whatever. And I don't think his performance is particularly great. I just think it's a big, showy performance. And I'm 100% sure that if Chadwick Boseman doesn't win the Oscar for Ma Rainey's, he will win it for this, because of course he will, because that's the way the world works. But the problem that I have with it is when that is your central performance for, over 2 hours, it can become just a bit too much. And there are some interesting supporting performances. I think Charles Dance is really good in this film. I think Amanda Seyfried is good, but isn't given anywhere near really enough to do. But it's one of these films that sort of, because it is black and white and because it tries to evoke Citizen Kane, and sometimes some of the shots that it uses are, things that you could feel like are ripped straight from or are direct tips of the hat to Citizen Kane. And because it's all supposed to be it's supposed to retain that feel of a 1930s, 1940s production, you're watching it and you're going, yeah, you're kind of nailing that. And you've got, I think the score by Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross is terrific. Really, really good. Best thing about the film. And the cinematography is very nice. And, technically, there are some really nice elements in it. But technical elements, again, if we're going back to that Nolan point, Tenet has got some phenomenal technical elements in terms of the way things are constructed. It's got some terrible technical elements, like the sound mixing. But if you're looking at it from a technical perspective and saying, well, this works, and this works, and this works, the film doesn't work. And it's one of these films where I'm thinking, well, it's such a limited audience for this anyway. Netflix is its perfect home, because if you want to watch it, it's available and you can watch it. I don't know who will. There are there are Citizen Kane freaks out there. Yeah. Kane heads, if you will. And they will love this, I'm sure, because it is something to do with the subject that they are obsessed with. And I'm not. I watch this because I do this podcast. And I'm not the biggest Fincher fan. I don't think he's the god of cinema that everyone seems to. I'm a contrarian. Wow, I'm a little contrarian. But, I think he's had strong films and he's had very weak films. And this, for me, just falls into that weak category because I'm just thinking, I don't know. Again, I don't know who this is for, and I don't know if it works for that audience. I'm sure for people who love Citizen Kane so much that that's all they can think about, it probably is. And it is a love letter to old Hollywood, and it is a love letter to the way that things used to be and everything, and it is sort of looking at the movie-making industry and going,
why it will be nominated.
Of course, and it will win so many fucking Oscars, and people will look at this review and they'll go, huh?
This guy just doesn't get it. It will be said, but you don't get it. You don't get cinema, and that's your biggest problem.
Yeah. Oh, you fundamentally lack an understanding of cinema. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I haven't seen 4,500 films and loved every single frame of every fucking one.
I'm sorry, guys, but I enjoyed Skyscraper.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I didn't like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Just because I enjoyed Bloodshot kind of in a couple of moments.
Look, just because Rat Race is clearly the best movie of all time, and, it's Christmas Day, why don't you put on Paul Blart? It's Christmassy.
I feel that people come to this podcast because we fundamentally don't understand cinema.
But the thing is, everyone understands cinema. Everyone understands cinema. If you love a film, there is a reason you love that film.
Because you understand cinema.
Because it's The Muppets Christmas Carol and it's the greatest movie ever made.
Put that on today, guys.
Yeah, that's the film to watch. So sorry if I don't fit your agenda, guys. Sorry if I...
You're going to be cancelled. You're going to get cancelled.
Yeah, this is directed at one person right now, and he knows who he is, I think. Anyway, right, so that's Mank, over and done with. Would not recommend. Trash film. No, I actually wouldn't recommend because I just don't think there is enough there.
You told me not to watch it.
You would fucking hate it.
You said
if I don't like it, it would be your worst film of the year.
You said to me, there's one film every year that I don't watch that's nominated for Best Picture. Yeah. This should be the one.
Yeah, and the problem is there's a couple more coming out this year that I'm like, I don't know if you will actually watch those either, but we'll see.
Who knows?
Okay, so that's a would not recommend from me, but I'm sure that I'll be told that I'm wrong. Moving on to the best film of the year, by the way, The Prom.
The Best Picture nominee, The Prom.
Jeepers. Okay.
Is this the last review, or do we have more?
This is the last review, as far as I know. Guys. Unless you got a little surprise.
No.
So, The Prom is a musical comedy directed by Ryan Murphy, adapted to the screen by Chad Beglin and Bob Martin from their Broadway musical of the same name from 2018. With songs by Matthew Sklar. So, starring Meryl Streep, James Corden, Nicole Kidman, Andrew Rannells, Keegan-Michael Key, Kerry Washington. Big cast. So this is the story of a young girl named Emma Nolan who wants to go to prom.
Yeah.
I read that from my own mind.
That's all. I saw you remember that name.
And who wants to take her girlfriend to the prom. And the PTA decide that they can't sanction this because there are certain ways that things are done here in Indiana.
Indiana gets a right beating in this film.
Indiana has got such a strong case for a lawsuit right now. Yeah, and they decide that, well, instead of that then, we'll cancel it for everyone. Because it's got to be inclusive. Everyone's got to be able to come, but you can't come with who you want to come with. So no one's going to get to go. So you are now social outcast. Sorry.
For the reason nobody's going
Sorry, Emma Nolan.
And at the same time, you then have James Corden and...
Meanwhile, on Broadway... So, yes, Dee Allen, Meryl Streep, Barry Glickman, James Corden. They open a show, Eleanor Roosevelt, the musical.
Yes.
And it's a massive bomb in terms of the reviews, and it seems to all be down to the fact that those two are awful and they're all self-involved.
Narcissistic.
And they decide what they need is to reinvigorate their careers and get themselves back into the good graces of the elite by finding a social cause to get behind. And hey, what happens to be trending on Twitter?
Nicole Kidman's on Twitter.
Well, this story of Emma Nolan who can't go to the prom.
Yeah.
So they decide, well, we're going to go there and fight for her to get to go to the prom with her girlfriend, and we will be seen as social justice warriors, and therefore be back in the good graces of society, and everyone will put us back in their place. So they go to Indiana, and events ensue.
Lots of musical numbers, guys.
Musical numbers abound.
Prom happens.
So, this film's nonsense. From start to finish. Look, I think we were sniffy about this when the first trailer came out for it. I think justifiably so, for the most part.
It's a film that doesn't know whether it likes actors or not.
It's a very confused film because it seems to take a standpoint against sort of Broadway actors and then for them, but then also against musicals and then for them, and then also against Indiana but never for it. It hates Indiana. It really hates Indiana. But it's also, it's kind of a movie that doesn't know what lesson it's trying to give you.
Yeah.
But it is definitely trying to give you a lesson, but it doesn't know which one is the right one. So it kind of goes, well, here's something where the actors are seen as idiots, but also maybe the actors are great and they are misunderstood. But also at the same time, Indiana is misunderstood because people think it's a decent state. It's trash state.
It's on fire. I think we have to talk about kind of the big elephant in the room.
Oh, you mean the stereotypical flouncing elephant in the room?
Which is James Corden's performance as Barry Glickman. Has come under quite a bit of heat because of being claims it's gay face. And basically it's a gay character, an openly gay character who's been performed by somebody who is not openly gay and is being performed in a style that is characteristic of the insulting behaviour you would use.
It's leaning on stereotypes.
Yes.
And it's leaning on them heavily in parts and then forgetting about them in other parts. And it comes across as someone who is... And this is the strange thing, is because it's Ryan Murphy who's directed this, who's obviously hot off the success of The Boys in the Band, which everyone really loved and said was great, and obviously he produced that. And...
Ryan Murphy, who
he does so much for representation, and The Boys in the Band, an all-gay cast. And here is someone playing a clearly gay character who is just doing what you would consider to be a sort of 1990s version of...
pouting.
It is that very much that sitcom level of, we've got a character in this who's a gay character, but we don't really know how to do it, so... we'll just put in a few inflections here and we'll put in a few oh, well, let's talk about the fact that I've got makeup from this store and that I'm going to take you shopping, and isn't that fabulous? But then also there's a heartrending story at the heart of it that doesn't feel earned because you're putting across such a negative representation.
It doesn't feel true because in those moments that's not the same character that you're portraying in other places. And actually somebody who has those lived experiences and, you know, is able to kind of put a bit of reality into that performance. And, you know, you can be this big, bold, brash kind of gay character. That's fine. But have somebody who can do it realistically.
Yeah.
Because those people exist. And, you know, why not just put in the person that was on the stage in it? Because apparently the role was written for him.
Yeah.
So there's a huge problem in that. And like I said, and the problem is because he has such a drive in this story, like he's such a focal point to this story, when he does have these moments that are quite hard-hitting, in a more capable pair of hands, I think could have really worked. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't hate this film. Like, I don't mind it. I think it's fine. Like, at times I kind of enjoyed it. I think, actually, it is popcorn fun. In the sense of, I don't think I would not recommend this. I think, actually, there is stuff in here to enjoy. I think some of the songs are catchy. Some of them are great because it's about your mom.
You love Thy Neighbour.
Yeah, because it's about somebody's mom going to hell, and I love it. Like, Andrew Reynolds doesn't get enough in this film. And I think there are some songs in here that really work. There's some that don't, like Nicole Kidman's number, I think is really bad.
The Zaz? The Victor Zaz from Batman?
It's really bad. But, you know, it's kind of...
And also, that's her only moment in the film, and we're also meant to believe that she's also best friends with Emma.
And I think this is the thing with the film, it hits at times and it completely misses at times. And it's... And, you know, that happens in musicals. There are songs that don't work in most musicals. Like, I don't think any musical is a 100% a success, you know.
Wow.
Greatest Showman has Tightrope. A song I literally have never listened to since seeing Greatest Showman, while the rest of them I've listened to multiple times.
Yeah. You actually bought the soundtrack album that doesn't have it included. It's like the Muppets Christmas Carol without Love Is Gone.
So yeah, I think actually it's fine. I think Meryl Streep goes all in as Dee Dee Williams, and actually is a great performance of somebody who is self-obsessed. I think the writing isn't always there for her.
No.
Because it is this thing of like, her character is confused of what her point of view is, and also what we're supposed to think of her. And that's a writing point of view. But as a performance goes, I think she's great.
I think she knows exactly what kind of film she's in.
Exactly. And I think you don't get much time with a lot of people here.
No.
And
people who are billed as being main characters.
People are forgotten. I don't even think we get that much time with Emma.
No.
Like, who's our lead, really. But I do think there is enough in here to kind of go, actually, this is fine.
Okay.
This is fine. And I know you don't agree, but
I heartily disagree. And
fine.
Also, Indiana, you got...
And that's fine, because I think that is what this movie's going to do. But I do think there is a huge problem with that casting and the fact that people sat there every single day and watched him perform the way that he did and went, yeah, this is going to be cool.
Yeah.
And I think, like we said, for somebody who is so key, I think, in representation. Like, as a director, I don't know anybody who does it as well as Ryan Murphy. And while I don't watch a lot of his stuff, I do appreciate what he does, and I don't think anyone does it as well as him.
Yeah, he's making a valuable contribution in the way he goes about it. But he has these things where he has these blind moments, and it'll be, you know, it's not just in this, it's been in previous productions, but you kind of look at it and go, were you asleep that day? But for the whole shoot? I don't know, it just kind of feels... I mean, look, it'll win Best Picture if Mank doesn't. And that's the world we live in. It's either Mank or this.
I don't think it's anywhere near that. And like I say, I think there are people who will really not like this. Like, I get the reason why you really don't like it. And I agree with a lot of your points.
Yeah.
I do think, though, it is not anywhere as bad as what I was braced for. I thought this was going to be, especially after watching, like, so many, like, bad Christmas films. Like,
we haven't even talked about those. We will refuse to talk about them. They are officially unrated.
Like... They are bad, and they were a slog to get through. I didn't find this as much of a slog as they are.
I'll be honest, the last month of cinema going, as it were, of film watching, has been so fucking horrible. Like, it feels like I've not really seen anything good in so long, because we've had to watch so many of those fucking Netflix Christmas movies.
But yeah, I think this is fine. Like,
okay, so you would say this is a that'll do pig? Or are you saying would recommend?
It sits between there, and I'll probably err on the side of caution and say that'll do pig. But I think that actually...
you value your life too much because I would murder you.
There are some people out there, but this will really hit for. And
I'm sure there are.
Really do numbers for those people.
Yeah.
But I think, if you want something that's just fine, it's cheesy as fuck, and times it is enjoyable, sure. It's there on Netflix.
It's the first movie of the Biden era as well. I would not recommend.
I figured as much.
But then again,
But what? Okay, so what is your main gripes then? Like,
my main issue is that story-wise, I don't think it works. Mm-hmm. I don't think it knows what story it's trying to tell. I think the writing is poor.
Yeah.
I think there's Meryl Streep's performance is good because it knows what it is. I don't know that I can think of another performance that I think the same way about.
You think Reynolds as
Reynolds
kid,
but Reynolds doesn't have he doesn't have a character.
No, he has one song, and it's a song I love, and I will.
The only one who gets a character, the only two who get a character is Meryl Streep and James Corden.
Yeah.
Our main lead, as it were, Emma Nolan, doesn't have that is not a character.
No, she has moments.
And it's the more interesting story behind it, because actually this is a play about, hey, shouldn't we feel bad for Broadway stars? Not really, no. I don't think we should. I'm not crying for Idina Menzel every night. And yeah, I don't think from a plot perspective it works very well. I think from a writing perspective it is weak. And you love Thy Neighbour, and that's great.
It's a great song, guys.
I can't...
It's up there with Gonna Make It Work Again from Jingle Jangle.
I can't think... Okay, can I tell you this? I enjoyed Jingle Jangle more as a musical than I enjoyed this.
Wow.
I think Jingle Jangle is a better musical. I think it's a worse Christmas film still. I think Jingle Jangle is a worse Christmas film than a film set at the height of summer.
500 Days of Summer is a better Christmas film than Jingle Jangle.
Fuck, it's Lawrence of Arabia is a better Christmas film than Jingle Jangle. But I think Jingle Jangle works as a better musical because I can actually remember Work Again.
But is that because I've played it a couple of times?
Well, it might be, but at least it's a fucking earworm. Whereas all of the film, I can't even think of any of the songs. I can think of Love Thy Neighbour now that I'm speaking about it, but all I remember is Andrew Rannells standing on a fucking fountain shouting Love Thy Neighbour. You don't remember the one that's like da 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 da. What? It's the one at the end. So we're going fake or you know it, something know it. Okay. It's got a guy in it who looks like a mole, and I'm pretty happy with that, I guess. And also Tracy Ullman as fake mum. Funniest character. So that's my issue, is that I think even from my point of view, where I'm less receptive to musicals than you are, I still think Jingle Jangle is a much better musical than this, and that's a problem. I still think Ryan Murphy cannot direct a musical properly. And remember, guys, Jingle Jangle is completely unrated. Fuck it. Compared to this, Jingle Jangle is a would recommend. I'm keeping that as your recommendation for all, even not compared to this. Yeah, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to see if I think Jingle Jangle was lower in the list than this is at the moment, and I think that needs to be corrected. I don't know where. The more I think about it, the more I like Jingle Jangle for the fact that it has one song I remember, and also a horny ass post lady. Horniest character in cinema this year. She wants a slice of that forest pie. So, as always, guys, you can find us on Facebook. Sorry, I just realised that we've been going on for a long time about nothing in particular. We did it, guys. We got to the end. And time to dig into boiled goose. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So you can finally get to your Christmas dinner. The roast potatoes will be done if you put them in at the start like we didn't tell you to. As always, you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. On Twitter, we're at DinosaurMan15, and same on Instagram.
Yeah, and that might be updated.
Yeah.
Sometimes. It's always a
everywhere else,
surprise.
Dinosaur Man Podcast. You can rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, leave us a
YouTube.
message. We're on YouTube, Dinosaur Man.
Johnny Neves did the theme song.
Yeah.
This time it was
Jingle Jangle.
Yeah.
Jingle Jangle.
Thank you, Alex,
Maybe good.
for hosting.
I'm having a real crisis of confidence. I don't know what I think about Jingle Jangle anymore.
You don't understand cinema. That's the problem with you.
Don't ever say that again.
But thank you.
Thank you
Have
for
a good
hosting.
Christmas.
Yeah, you also have a good Christmas that has been today.
Yes.
Because
And
today is Christmas.
guys, until next time,
You know what? Love thy neighbour.
love thy neighbour, and hopefully your family members don't go to hell. Thank you, Andrew Reynolds. You are the best.
Bye.